There was a study done from the 70s by a psychologist named Bruce Alexander, who noticed something strange about how addiction research was being run. The standard experiments put a single rat in a small cage with 2 bottles of water, one plain, one laced with morphine. The rat almost always became dependent, and everyone concluded the chemical does this. But Alexander asked a different question. What if it's the cage? So he built Rat Park. Imagine Mickey Mouse, or a Mickey Rat in this case, at Disneyland. A large open space with tunnels, toys, good food, and a whole community of other rats. The same 2 bottles were available, but the Mickey rats in Rat Park mostly left the morphine water alone. But that's not what interests me about this study. What interests me is that, what if your addiction source of power lies in the fact that you're fighting it? Have you tried everything? Blocking and deleting, hiding snacks, putting the console in the closet, only to have the cycle eventually come back? And are you a Muslim brother who can't figure out why your tawbah and sincere intentions to stop isn't working? And do you feel like you're fighting a losing battle and that maybe this is just the way you are? Well, inshallah, I hope you answered yes to at least one of these questions, because by the end of this get-together, you'll understand what your addictive behavior is actually pointing to, why fighting it directly keeps it alive and well, and what you can actually start doing right now to start walking away from it for good. May Allah reward you for being curious. Let's tie our camel. As-salamu alaykum, my name's Farouk, and I've come up with a step-by-step system based on 30 years of self-learning and trial and error that helped me walk away from a 30-year-long addiction, and now I'm sharing it with my Muslim brothers. Let me start with something that changed how I understood all of this. Imagine if there was a behavior that was just inherently addictive. No cause behind it, 100% addictive for every person on earth, no exceptions, no individual history involved. Think about what that would mean if there's no reason for it. If there's no reason for it, then that would mean there's no solution, nothing to address, nothing to heal. You'd be fighting it forever because there's nothing underneath driving it. And unfortunately, a lot of brothers are living as if that's what addiction is. We treat the behavior like a faceless enemy to defeat through willpower alone. I'm seeing fight your nuffs all over the internet. And the issue with that is, number one, I think the more accurate way to think about it is to work with your nuffs. And number two, it doesn't work. Because if we see our nuffs as binary, meaning it's on or off, and that our nuffs are the reason why we have an addiction, then by extension, we're seeing that there's no reason for the addiction. It's just built into us as sort of a test. But the addiction has a reason, and that reason is a door, not a dead end. The real test is beneath the addiction. Because here's what the standard approach misses. If the behavior has a reason, that means it's doing something intelligent. Your nervous system didn't pick this at random. It found something that worked for what was underneath. Therefore, an addiction is a symptom, and the cost just ended up becoming a problem of its own. There was a study done from the 70s by a psychologist named Bruce Alexander, who noticed something strange about how addiction research was being run. The standard experiments put a single rat in a small cage with 2 bottles of water, one plain, one laced with morphine. The rat almost always became dependent, and everyone concluded the chemical does this. But Alexander asked a different question. What if it's the cage? So he built Rat Park. Imagine Mickey Mouse, or a Mickey Rat in this case, at Disneyland. A large open space with tunnels, toys, good food, and a whole community of other rats. The same 2 bottles were available, but the Mickey rats in Rat Park mostly left the morphine water alone. But that's not what interests me about this study. What interests me is that when he moved the already morphine-dependent isolated rats into Rat Park, almost all of them gradually stopped using. The root cause of the addiction wasn't the morphine, it was the trauma-inducing cage. Change the environment, address what's underneath, and the behavior loses its job. It's no different for you. Your behavior has a job, and the question is, what job have you given it? I sat with this question for a very long time, over 30 years, and what came up was extremely uncomfortable because the job I'd assigned my behavior to wasn't pleasure. It was quiet. It was distraction. I just wanted to buy time from the noise in my head and the discomfort in my body. I wanted it to stop. And then there's this study. During the Vietnam War, about 20% of American soldiers were using heroin. Active, regular use. The government braced for a massive addiction crisis when the troops came home. But upon return to the States, almost 95% of those soldiers stopped using. No program, no treatment, nothing. They just went home and they stopped. Because what they found out was that home, a change in their environment, removed what the heroin was doing a job for back when they were in the war. Being so far away from everyone they loved, the constant threat, and the things they had to witness every day. But remove those conditions and the behavior disappears because it no longer has anything to treat. I mean, just sit with that for a moment. Your behavior has a function, a specific one. And so here's the question worth really thinking about. What are the conditions in your life right now that your behavior is treating? Not why am I weak, but what conditions are creating the need for this behavior to exist? For a long time, I was almost entirely in my head, planning, thinking, analyzing, and there was a lot happening underneath that I genuinely wasn't feeling. I wasn't even aware I wasn't feeling it. I just knew certain moments created a kind of pressure, and the behavior relieved the pressure. I couldn't have named what the pressure was. I just knew the behavior made it go away. And I know if you're still watching this, you're most likely in the exact same spot. And what I want to say is this: you are not weak. You've just had no framework on what is actually going on. And what I understand now that I didn't then is that the body is constantly generating information. It might be a tightness in your chest that's been there so long that it's part of you, or a hollowness that shows up at night when things get quiet, or a restlessness in your hands and jaw that you've learned to push through. None of that is random. Your nervous system's just trying to get a message through. And if you've been using this behavior to quiet the signal, you've been hanging up on a call that just keeps ringing back. Brothers, we deep dive and support each other on all of this in our growing community for Muslim brothers. Links in the description. Now, here's what I think is the most important thing I can give you. Whatever you've been using the behavior to avoid feeling, avoiding it is what made that feeling grow. I've watched this with dozens of brothers who've engaged in addictive substances and behaviors to escape loneliness. The behavior almost always happens in isolation and in secret, which deepens the loneliness it was meant to cure. And then the shame comes after pushing people, further into hiding. Less connection, more loneliness, and more pull towards the behavior. The avoidance feeds the root cause directly, faster than the root cause could grow on its own. And this is why attacking the behavior head on keeps failing. The behavior is a symptom, and addressing a symptom without going to the root is why the cycle keeps repeating. So, what does addressing the root cause actually look like? The next time you feel a pull, or even before if you want to be proactive, pause before you do anything else. Let's break it down into actionable steps. Number 1, do what I like to call break and shake. This is when you're doing anything, even if it's something that's benign, like learning, reading, or watching a harmless YouTube video. Ideally, you want to do this maybe 20 minutes in or 30 minutes in to whatever it is you're doing. What it is you basically stop what you're doing, stand up if you're not already, and just shake your arms and your limbs and your head. I know it seems kind of weird, but this resets your nervous system. And in my opinion, this is one of the incredible benefits of Salah. From 5 times during the day, we're breaking out of whatever it is we're doing and we're moving. I'm going to do a whole new video on the somatic power of Salah. It's absolutely mind-blowing, and I'm going to do that soon, inshallah. But anyway, back to my point. You just stop what you're doing. Stand up and shake. I know it sounds corny because I think Taylor Swift did a song about it called Shake It Off. But hey, it is what it is, and it's what we're doing, and it works. Number 2, you ask yourself one question. Where am I right now in my body? This is where you can sit down and be consciously aware of the sensations and feelings in your body. If you're holding in anger, you might have tightness in your jaw or face. Maybe you have tightness in your shoulders. Just do a scan from your feet to your head. Feel the texture of your clothes, the ground or chair beneath you. One of the best times to do this is after Salah, while making dhikr. Now, of course, you're not doing this to attach it to anything religious or any religious meaning. We're not trying to innovate here. But while making dhikr, You just become physically present in your body. You're looking within, not looking around, nodding your head, smiling at people. You're in your body and you relax every part of your body as you can. At first, it helps to close your eyes and you might even feel numb and it might be difficult. And that's totally normal. This is a skill and every skill needs to be built and strengthened. And the best part about this exercise is that it works automatically because we're working with the sympathetic nervous system, which controls your heartbeat, among other things. And we can't control that with our thoughts. It would be like trying to accurately control our heart rate using our thinking. So no, we're not trying to do that, but we can control it through actions and physical awareness. It's the same for any trauma. We're allowing it to move through us through physical awareness. And remember, it took baby steps to create the addiction, and it can take baby steps to get out. As a kid, we did this inherently, but due to the conditions of our childhood, from our parents and our environment, we lost the ability to tune in with our body. And so it's because of this loss of self-awareness, physical awareness, that we're in the situation we're in. Number 3, move into a different area, a different space. If you're at home, move to another room and go engage with someone in your family or roommate. A loss of connection drives addiction, and creating a connection weakens it. If you're living alone, you can go and journal. You can handwrite something short, or you can enter it into our Sentry Labs app. If you want to know more about that, links in the description. That's number 3, because you want to change your environment, just like the Mickey rats in the park and the Vietnam veterans. Number 4, limit the dopa farming. What is dopa farming? Dopa farming is when you're chaining highly dopaminergic stimuli. For example, when you're watching YouTube starts getting boring. You pick up your phone, you scroll through your phone, then that gets boring. So you go to the kitchen, you grab some chips or some cookies. Your dopamine goes up and crashes down. And with refined carbs, your blood sugar also crashes. Now you maybe go back to watching some true crime on YouTube or something violent or disturbing on Instagram or X. You're constantly going up, crashing down, and this will eventually, once all of those stimuli start losing their pull, lead you to your main addiction. Whether it's pornography, gaming, whatever the case may be, it's inevitable that you're going to relapse because you're dopa farming. So instead of going from learning or reading or watching a YouTube video directly to your phone or a snack, take a break and shake. That's how all this kind of ties together. When you're dopa farming, when you notice it, and again, this takes time to build awareness, go do a break and shake. And after, maybe 5 or 10 minutes, come back and continue where you left off. Oh, and also another form of dopa farming is you pulling out your phone when you go into the bathroom, or you're sitting at a stoplight, or riding with someone in a car. This is all dopa farming. So instead, and I know you've probably heard to allow yourself to be bored, well, we're taking it a step further. Yes, you're going to be bored, but you're also going to take the opportunity to do the body grounding I mentioned in step number 2. So after a break and shake, take a moment to practice physical awareness, or anytime you have a lull in your day. Again, I like to do this after Salah when I'm making dhikr. But sometimes brothers run into a wall. Knowing what's underneath the pull and actually being able to stay with that feeling long enough for it to move, those are completely different things. The feeling can be harder to stay with than you'd expect. And so I broke down exactly how to do that, including what happens in the body when you stop running in this video. Jazakallah khair. As-salamu alaykum.